Welcome to this episode of YouTube where we're featuring some midwinter behaviors, which typically is the most dominant time of the year. And as we have construction going on, we obviously wanted to be concerned about the influence of the construction on the wolves and certainly on redirected aggression from a little bit of anxiety. So what we've been doing is feeding extra resources during the week. Grizzer is getting fed every day, and Grizzer actually is on a little bit of a mild sedative just when the noise of the construction is a bit too much. But the exhibit pack is managing, and they're managing through extra food resources. So what that means is Luna gets another opportunity to disrespect other wolves' spaces, and typically wolves have a social rule that says when you're feeding on something, regardless of your rank, you have about a 1 to 2 foot space around your food resources to protect, and other wolves typically respect that. Well, Luna never got that memo, and she is doing her classic not really disregarding or disrespecting by wantonly taking it, but making it so obnoxious that Denali just gives up. So she starts by sitting on him, then she's going to do a standover on top of him. Denali does a little threat display to no avail because Luna doesn't really respond to threat displays unless they're coming from Aiden. So Denali's tolerance of the situation, you can see his ears prick and go sideways, a little bit of intimidation. Now they go back. He's going to try to ignore the situation for a while. These are all tactics of social animals to try to avoid a lot of conflict. And Luna's going to disregard him again and actually sit on him, which makes him go back and give her what we call a four-leg stab, kind of engaging in a little bit of jaw sparring interaction. And the whole time, you'll see that Denali is posturing farther and farther away from the deer leg, and he puts a paw on it to try to keep the possession. But it's very hard to possess something when you've got this obnoxious behavior in front of you. So Luna calculated, very, very aware of the situation. This is not a random act. This is Luna doing a calculated behavior to acquire something, especially from a wolf who's probably about a foot taller than her and about 30 pounds heavier. So it's interesting to watch these social behaviors. I mean, these are social carnivores. Carnivores, meat eaters, social, got to live in a group to be able to eat prey much larger than themselves. So a lot of these behaviors kind of evolve. So it'll be interesting when the pups come. Certainly we see these behaviors develop in the pups almost as early as we get them. We typically pick up the pups around 12 days of age to make sure that they have necessary colostrum and that development is going along well. If we wait longer than 12 to 14 days of age to start socialization, that fear avoidance kind of comes into play. And that's Boltz's issue a little bit. Although Boltz was socialized, we didn't meet him till he was almost 4 weeks of age, which is really old for a wolf to try to gain trust. And so Boltz is one of those wolves who has a tendency to be a little bit timid, certainly always has that kind of head down look like he doesn't trust anything. And we will continue to work with him for the rest of his life, but we will probably not gain the trust that we have with the other wolves because of that socialization period. But like I said, Boltz is, we do everything on his terms, as long as we understand him. And he does approach us. I vaccinate him and do things, but it's on his terms, meaning that you might want to vaccinate the wolves, and it might take you 5 days to get it done because it's about trust, and that's something that we don't want to violate. So our wolves typically, again, have the cover hay that has given them an opportunity to rest at higher vantage points and actually watch the construction. So that's another key thing about why they've been doing so well. So this pump housing, which will eventually have rock over it and will house the UV filters to help control the algae, will also have some shade trees added to this thanks to a special donor who has provided those resources to us. It's been something that the wolves really take advantage of. And so, like I said, the higher vantage point gives wolves confidence. So a wolf like Boltz, who's a little intimidated, he can kind of get a few moments of being a little bit more dominant until Luna shows up. And then Luna reminds him that he is a subordinate to her, and that's her role as the dominant female, and certainly her role as the only female. She has a tendency to to remind everyone that that behavior exists. So the biggest keys that we see in winter is typically increased dominance. This time of the year, hormones, certainly maybe cold weather can stimulate it, more food competition, that kind of thing. So we see this redirected aggression. So the rank order goes down to the bottom of the rank. And so here, what's interesting to us is you're seeing Aiden. We always know it's not too serious when Aiden doesn't really get involved. Aiden's the dominant pack leader. He's got a relaxed tail here. Bolts, though, had pretty high tail, and Denali was the one being dominated, and Denali retreats with a deer leg and goes up the hill. So sometimes we have to watch, is it food related or is it dominance related? And a lot of people, think that dominance related is fighting, and in fact, it's really not. It's avoiding more serious questions of rank and authority in a pack, especially a captive pack. This may not go on so much in the wild because the wild is parents and their offspring, and offspring tend to listen to their parents a little bit better, theoretically, than pups that are introduced like our exhibit. But here we see, Aiden just put an end to Luna's kind of obnoxious submission with a couple of hard muzzle bites, and she quit. That doesn't mean that he hates her or they hold a grudge or that they're angry with each other. It just means that, things need to calm down. And so he's going to put put a little bit harsher dominance on it. And so, like I said, if things get stressed, though, they can go into a dominance redirection. And that's kind of what Denali's facing here. And that's one of probably the biggest things I watch for with the construction is, if Aiden gets stressed, is Denali going to get mobbed a little bit more from the dominance? And so we've been kind of watching that. But so far, we have our days, but we're working on keeping Aiden relaxed. And this is Aiden, kind of rolling in the snow. The other challenge that we've had when we started the building construction, we had to take down some adjacent fence. So we actually had a wolf, wild wolf that has been hanging around. And you're seeing the wolves sniff up the fence line here. As a matter of fact, I did a webinar on last Friday night, and the wolf was in the parking lot, then came up to the back of the hill. The wolves actually weren't even attending part of my webinar because of their distraction with this wild wolf. But when we did start the building and we took down fence, we actually had a situation on the other side of the compound where this wild wolf was next to the lab. So we're anxious to get this construction finished so we can get fencing back up. He was not the wolf was blocked off from where Grizzer is, but he wasn't that far from the exhibit pack, and that's a concern. We certainly don't want any transmission of diseases. We certainly don't want any fence fighting. As you can see there, the wolves have a secondary fence where that wolf could never get close to them on that side of the compound, but where the construction is going on is a little bit more of an issue. We also had a wolf watch, or actually it's a program called Wolves After Dark on February 5th. Had a great opportunity for people to watch the wolves, and this is where we really get to know what's going on with the pack dynamics. When we do wolf care and we film, obviously we're influencing. We're in there, wolves are seeking us out for attention that may cause the wolves to have some redirected aggression. But here's what's interesting. That was Bolts who did a subordinate rollover and called an Aguino presentation to Denali. That's amazing. We've been watching Denali while we videotape, who's getting a redirected aggression, yet in the absence of wolf care staff, by watching at the Wolves After Dark, we see that this is not the case. So like I say, the construction is ongoing. Grizzer's doing quite well. We had a big backhoe next to his pen. He's watching, no doubt. And I know, we are anxious to get him back up on camera, but until his construction is done, all the cabling has been removed from that side. But basically, we're treating him when the contractors are here. He's getting a light sedative in the morning, nothing to put him to sleep or anything like that, just to take the edge off a little bit. And then when they're not here, he gets a break. The other thing he gets, other than wolf care staff, kind of calm him down a little bit, he gets a lot of food resources. So another reminder, the pup applications are still open. So if you have previous experience with wolf pups, if you've attended one of our prereq courses, if you have some kind of unique special circumstance that says, I am qualified to help raise and socialize pups, We would welcome your application. It is open yet until the end of the day on Monday. You can download them at the Wolf Log site and fill out your application. You can submit it online. We will hopefully have some ideas of the wolf care teams by the fall. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.